Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Just want to tell you what happened last week with a particular call I was on with a prospective client, where they are large, okay? They're a 2.3 billion turnover company. They're a brand name. You will have heard of them. They're all over the place. And they came to us and said, look, can they use the Innistic software to kind of help process their supply chain emissions? I said, fine, let's see if it'll work for you. We went through the meeting. And I had a look at the report, which is gorgeous. It's a really nice report, okay? There's loads of color, there's loads of design, there's loads of forward-looking statements, etc., etc. So I like all that. It's not bad, but there is a but. There is a big but. This company's emissions are 90% Scope 3. Fine, that's not unusual. Certain types of company, you're going to find that. 90% of those emissions were supply chain. Again, for certain kind of companies, that's okay. Here's the catch. They used an industry average figure for all of their purchases. Okay, so all they said is we spent, I can't remember the exact number, imagine that the figure is sort of like, 600 million pounds or something like that on buying manufacturing associated stuff. And they use one figure multiplied by 600 million, and that drove their carbon footprint. Do you know what? It's better than nothing. I quite like that. I quite like the fact that at least they're having a go. At least they're not sort of ignoring it, which lots of companies do. But the problem is the figure they use, which is the government approved figure. I guess it's built into software like the Innistic software or other sorts of software. We use similar sort of metrics. But the problem is, I know that figure. It's calculated from a piece of work done in 2008. Okay, so problem number one, if you're buying, a lot of stuff, how can, for example, imagine you're in construction, buying a nail, has got a different carbon content to buying, I don't know, for example, a ton of steel or a ton of bricks, etc. And just using one number doesn't really sort of account for all those differences. So problem number one. Problem number two is the figure itself that they use is donkey's years old. So we're in 2024 now, so it's like 16 years old. Okay, so hats off to the company. They are doing something about it, and that's where, as I say, software these days, because it's kind of a recursive problem. You need to know what your supplier's footprint is. Your suppliers need to know what their footprint is, which is based on their suppliers, etc. That's why it's a sort of a complex area to look at with carbon footprints. But hats off for them for doing something, for trying. They're not just ignoring it. I like that. But they've got a lot of work to do in terms of getting a better understanding of their supply chain emissions, which is what they're doing. And as I say, they're doing the right things. But caveat emptor, when you see these lovely reports, especially ones where so much of it is supply chain emissions, just take them with a pinch of salt. They're the best guess we have so far, the best estimate within certain sort of error bounds about what the actual carbon footprint is, but they're not going to be very accurate at all. Okay, and over time they will improve. So that's the good news, I suspect. Okay, so look, I hope that was useful. Buyer beware when looking at these reports. If you have any questions for me, if there's anything you think I can help with, just let me know, and if I can help, I certainly will. If you want any sort of information about the software we produce that kind of does a lot of the automation behind this for you, then have a look at the Innistic site, or else, as I say, just drop me a line, drop me an email. If I can help, I will. All right, see you next time.